we would start with about 10, do the next session with another 10, and then do a third session kind of with a mixture of the 20 that we've already assessed. Choose 10 out of there, mix them up. And then we want to look again and say, okay, if my person got 80% or more correct, then I'm thinking, you know, they are really, really good at using these photographs. So I want to go up to the next level in the hierarchy, which would be color photographs. I would go to color symbols. And so then I'm going to go back through the process and I'm going to use color symbols. So that can be line drawings that you've colored in. It can be board maker symbols, pics for pecs symbols. Sometimes you can find line drawings on the internet too if you're looking through Google Images. So I would go back through the process, but I would use the colored line drawings. Now, if I tried the non-reinforcing items or the neutral items and the person I'm working with got less than 80% correct, then I would start this person using a combination of color photographs, and then I would go one level below and also use some partial or miniature objects. So because some things they are not going to be able to recognize using color photographs. So I would be using a combination of both of those levels. Now going back to the top, if I am in the beginning, I'm testing to see if they're going to do the color photographs, that they can understand color photographs, and I do go through those three phases of assessing, and I've done the 20 items, and I calculate my data and they have less than 80% correct, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move one level towards the least symbolic, which would be down to partial or miniature objects, and then I'm going to start over and redo this assessment. So I'm going to start back at the top of the flow chart. And so whatever level I end up with at the end of the assessment is the level I'm going to start my students or the person I'm working with, that I'm going to start using on their visual supports. And there will usually be a combination, because usually, like we said before, they may be able to recognize photographs, color photographs of things they like, but may not be able to recognize color photographs of things they don't really care about. So we're probably going to be using a combination of things, of the level where we think they're at plus a level below, to try and move them towards a more symbolic level. So once we've decided what the person that we're working with needs, then we have to decide how we're going to move from one level to the next. So one way that we move from one level to the next is to pair and then fade. So we're going to pair, in this picture we're pairing the photograph with the actual object. In this picture we are pairing the actual object with a line drawing. In this example, they have taken a line drawing and they have actually glued the actual object onto it to make it three-dimensional. Here's the same thing, but for drink. Basketball. And so once we've we have them paired, then what we're going to do is we're going to fade. So in this example, if we're trying to move towards the actual word, then we're going to start fading the picture. So we have this picture and we have it really big because that's what they recognize right now, and we have the word ball really small, and we have it kind of at the bottom. So when we start fading, once we think that the person that we're working with is going to be able to start looking more towards the word, understanding the word, then we're going to make the ball a little bit smaller and the word ball a little bit larger. And then over time we will make the picture ball even smaller and the word ball even larger. Then over time we're going to switch the word to the top because the word is now going to be the focus. And we're going to continue making the picture smaller and the word larger so that our focus is going towards the word ball and not as much the picture of the ball. So eventually we'll have a large word and a teeny tiny picture of a ball. And then we can fade that out completely. Now this may take place over a very long period of time. It's not going to be something that happens overnight. So we're just going to gradually work through this and work through making the picture smaller and the word larger so that we're moving them towards a more symbolic level. So the support that we are going to make tonight and that we are going to practice what you've learned on about choosing a symbol system are we're going to make first thin boards, which are really fun, really great support to use for individuals. And this course is about, supports to use with individuals with autism, but these supports can be used for anyone. It's not just developed for kids with autism. In fact, it's these supports were used for other individuals long before they were used for individuals with autism. So they are great supports, and you can use them with a variety of individuals, and so don't think that you have to just use this with people with autism. So first thin boards are really great. One thing that they teach are that grandma's law. So they teach that kind of concept of the first you eat your vegetables, then you get your ice cream. So like at grandma's house, you do what I want you to do, and then you get what you want. So providing reinforcement. Then it can also provide a starting point for teaching visual schedules. So a lot of times whenever you start off teaching a visual schedule, you can't just start with a full day. Some people that you work with may need to start with a first thin board, and then that will help them to move into a visual schedule. The other thing first thin boards can do are that they can assist with transitions because it tells the person what comes next. So sometimes whenever if you have a person that you're working with who really loves the computer, and they're on break time and they're getting to use the computer, sometimes it can be really difficult to get them off of the computer. So this might be a really great support to use to be able to show them what they're expected to do next. And it can visually remind the person of the reinforcing activity that comes after the activity they don't like. So like grandma's law, first you eat your vegetables, then you get your ice cream. In the classroom, it could be first you do your spelling test, then you get to read a book, or first you do your OT and then you get to go for a walk. So if there's something that the person that you're working with really doesn't like to do, then sometimes it helps to be able to show them visually that it doesn't last forever, that and when it's done, that they are going to get to do something they like. So here is a first thin board. In this first thin board, we have the first in green over here and the then in yellow. And we also put a little picture of a visual timer because we really like to use a visual timer with this support, especially when we're using it for kind of a transition support. So on the first part, we can have the first item on the schedule. So we could put under this first column, we could put something that is on their visual schedule if we want to try and teach them how to use a visual schedule, but using smaller, not giving them the full day at one time, but giving them just 2 activities at a time. We could also put the activity that they do not like under first. We could put, we could answer the question for them, what do I do when I'm done? Then, under the then column, we could put the second item on the schedule. We could also put an activity that they really love. So if we're trying to get them to do something they don't like, then we can put something that they really do like under the then column. And it can also communicate to them, the then column will say, oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do whenever I'm finished. So one thing you can do is if you have an activity that they do not like under the first column, then what you can do is set your visual timer for like 15 minutes, and then when the red is gone from the timer, then it's time to do the activity that they really like. So this is a great way to pair the timer concept with a first then board. So your first then board does not have to be this beautiful piece of art that you have spent all this time putting together. Your first then board can be something as simple as this. This was a half of a binder under an old binder that was cut apart, and you can see they've used whiteout to write on it with, they put first, then a little bit of Velcro, and they wrote finished on the little pouch for the binder. So it doesn't have to be beautiful, it needs to be functional. So what we need to look at is, instead of making something really fancy, we just want to make sure that we are using things that are at the person's symbolic level. So what we're going to do now is we are going to actually make a first then board. So what I need for everyone to do first is to kind of prepare and get ready the items that you're going to need. So what we want you to do is we want you to choose the type of symbol system that you think you're going to need for the person that you're working with. And you can always go back and assess later, and you can start to pair those items later. But to start with, we want you just to take a educated guess and figure out where you think the person you're working with is, what level they're at. Then we want to make sure that you have printed the first then template from our website. There's also a template with reinforcers. There are also labels and activity photos, and then you can print all of those on cardstock if you have them. If you don't have them, then go ahead and print it on regular printer paper, and you can glue that onto something sturdier like cardboard or cereal box later. Then if you're going to need actual objects, you can go ahead and deal with that now. You can make line drawings during this 15 minutes, or you can make digital photographs or pictures from the internet, just like we did during our previous sessions. So